Was good, Joe. It was good. Been a minute. I know it's been a minute since I've been on here by myself. I've been having my Talk No Jutsu crew. We've been doing these anime drafts very often. But I think it's time for me to get on here by myself again and just have a little discussion with everyone in regards to Snowfall. Oh, my bad. Let me turn that off. In regards to Snowfall, I just finished watching the show, and I must say that I like it. I think it's a really good show. Personally, I think it's one of the best dramas, one of the best crime X TV shows that I've seen in a minute. So today, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give my brief synopsis on the show and as a whole, give a little something on a couple of character specifics. It's not gonna be too much though. I got shit all in my background. I shit back this way. Okay, there we go. You ain't got to see all that. But yeah, like I said, it's gonna be a brief synopsis of the show as a whole. Give my 2 cents on a couple of characters and answer a couple of questions. So without further ado, this is my brief synopsis on what I thought of Snowfall about 10 years later. So it starts out with typical kid just living in Los Angeles, normal life. I didn't know that Franklin actually was in college at one point though, but failed because of I forgot exactly why, but I know he assaulted the financial aid advisor. Well, I think they fucked up his financial aid if I'm not mistaken. Something to that effect. I know they fucked it up. And he got expelled from said university and now he's back at home basically. Then you got, Jerome, you got his uncle Jerome, his auntie Louis. Jerome is slinging weed. Clearly, it ain't working too much. I mean, it's working, but it's to the point where it's like they just getting by. But I'm not gonna talk too much about the small stuff. The biggest thing starts when Franklin makes his way over to Ivy and he grabs that first kilo, that first 12 grand worth of kilo. Of course, Ivy wants it back. When Franklin brings these particular drugs over to Louis and Jerome, Louis knows exactly what to do with it. She has a homegirl named, I think her name was Claudia or something like that. And that's kind of where everything picked up at. Franklin started selling these bricks to Claudia, bringing the money back to Ivy, and just kind of like rinse and repeat until Franklin gets jumped by Lenny and Ray Ray. So, of course, they got to do what they got to do, and y'all know what happened. I'm not going to spoil too much of it. Well, major spoilers, obviously, but y'all, I'm not going to spoil too much of it to where I'm giving little details. I'm just basically going over the biggest points of the series and basically saying what I thought about it. So that's kind of where it started at. I think that's not when the show started, but that's when Franklin Saint started accepting that first kilo of cocaine. He gets jumped by Lenny and Ray Ray. He gets the money back eventually through questionable means. I mean, there were some things that happened, but long story short, he had his money back. Franklin then starts to realize that this is a lot of money that comes really quickly. And, eventually he wants to up the ante. He wants to get more drugs. He wants to start selling more. Eventually he wants to start doing his own thing with his own product, not his own product, but his own, his own people. And that's kind of where it goes with that. So it goes from just one brick a week or whenever to now he's getting enough to actually start selling and making his own money. Then it eventually turns into him starting to make his own shit. He starts having the cookouts or what have you. He eventually gets Jerome and Louis in on it, even though they weren't not. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. He eventually gets them to join his operation. He, basically tells Jerome, "Hey, look, dude, we're gonna be making all this money and this and that. I need y'all." And yeah, they agree to do it. So it starts out as a small family business. Eventually, it grows. It grows to the point to where it starts to really fuck with Franklin, in my opinion. I think that the money that he continued to bring in and the power that he continued to gain, that kind of fucked with his mentality. Because, I mean, a kid from the streets that ain't used to that kind of shit wouldn't really know what to do with it. Not saying Franklin didn't, because dude was smart as hell. When it came to these streets, he was smart. But as, the seasons go on, things get better. Franklin gets more money and, whoop de woo, this and that. Bodies start dropping. Of course, the normal life or normal street life, should I say, when it's centered around drugs and stuff like that, that's kind of what happens in these shows. So I think the biggest thing that happened to this point was when Franklin got kidnapped. And right, I remember when what's his name? At the time he was still going by Reed Thompson when he smashed into his car, tased him, and then held him and Leon hostage. that's when he finally met the plug himself. And I think that was a big turning point in the series because that really, let the viewers know that hey, Franklin is not to be fucked with. He's doing so much to where the plug himself wants to actually get to know Franklin. Well, I mean, so he said he had to make sure he was ready for him, but who knows? Teddy was kind of fucked up in his own right to do that. Anyway, so when they get free, they start doing business together. Everything goes good. I mean, no complaints. They're making money. They're making millions. They're steady leveling up. Franklin has his new real estate business with his mom. Meets Veronique, has a baby on the way. Things are going pretty good. I mean, Louis and Jerome, they've expanded to the point to where they got people in different states moving the product for them. That's not to say everything has been all good, but just going over some of the good and then of course some of the bad. Leon finally has his, I guess you could say, his epiphany when he murders Scully's daughter, and we're gonna get on Scully too. And then not to mention everything that happens towards the end with Franklin's money being stolen, Louis going behind his back, doing work with Teddy directly, costing Jerome his life. I mean, shit. Jerome lost his life. Rob lost his life. Manboy got killed. Scully's daughter and wife got killed. There was a lot. There was a lot of good that happened, as far as all things considered, of course. Because nothing in the show was really that good, to be honest with you. There was some good. Well, I will say the only good things that really happened was the amount of money that they made. Everything else was clearly negative, and I don't think Frank. That's the one character flaw I will say. Franklin, either he wasn't aware of the damage that the drugs that he was slinging was doing to his community, or he knew about it and he just didn't give a fuck. Which I think he did at one point say that he knew, but I guess didn't give a fuck. Which I mean, hell, what can you say? Then we got good old Wanda. She got hooked on the shit, and eventually, thank goodness, she got clean, which I think was one of the best character arcs. Wanda and Leon probably had some of the best character development in the whole show. Well, all of them had good character development, but I think Leon and Wanda, and to a point, Franklin, they had the best character development, in my opinion, in the show. There was a lot of bloodshed, of course, a lot of things that go on when you're talking about these kinds of TV shows. But I mean, like I said, I'm not here to give what you call it. I'm here to give a brief synopsis, more or less. I'm not here to talk about it season by season. That's going to be coming later. Eventually, I will do that, but not this time. This is just my quick thoughts, more or less. But of course, it all ends with Louis turning on Franklin, going siding directly with Teddy, doing business directly with Teddy. Franklin leaving the game, Teddy stealing his money. And then we all know what happens from there. Franklin loses his mind, loses everything he has. Now he's a bum on the streets. So I really think that, you know what? Now let's do this. Let's do this instead. I gave a brief synopsis on the show. Like I said, that's all I'm here to do. I'm going to give my 2 cents season by season, or I might do character analysis, character by character later on. But for now, that's my brief synopsis on it. I think it was a great show. It was very real for what it was. There's a lot of these shows that seek the entertainment factor, but Snowfall took a different direction, in my opinion. So obviously, every show needs to be some form of entertaining. Snowfall was definitely entertaining. However, there was a lot more realism in this show that I think really was the determining factor to me. I mean, there's people actually wanting to get out the game. There's civil rights talk. There's people actually moving out the country. There's actually black activists trying to better their own people, i.e. Leon, people that actually wanted to do better for themselves and not just say that they want to do better or wasn't trying to just stay in the game purposely. So I appreciate Snowfall for that. Uh, Now there are 3 questions that I've kind of looked at and basically talked about and thought about. So I think what I'm gonna do is, oh, you know what? Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna edit all this out anyways. Not a big deal. All right. So I'm gonna answer 3 somewhat discussional questions, and then I'm gonna ask that. I want everybody, when this video goes on YouTube, I want everybody's opinion in the comment section below, and then we can talk about it. So the first thing I want to see is which character had the worst fate. I personally think that when it comes to fates, the only person that had a good fate, honestly, was Wanda and Leon. They were the only ones that actually made it out and with no strings attached, in my opinion. I mean, let's look at it like this. Let's take all our main characters and go one by one and talk about their fates, or basically how it ended and what happened to them. Franklin lost everything. he became a homeless bum. Leon moved out, moved to Africa, and started his own legal counsel. Wanda's out there with him. Sissy's in jail for murder, most likely going to be facing the death penalty for killing Teddy. I don't know how the laws were at that time, but just hypothetically speaking, Teddy McDonald's dead. Jerome is dead. Louis is on the run from the CIA. Let me see what other main characters we got. Avi's dead. Manboy's dead. Well, I wouldn't really consider him a main character, but yeah, those characters. Well, other than the ones I already went over, I'm gonna just keep it at that. Those are considered. I would consider those the main characters. But in any case, the worst fate I feel, I believe Louis has the worst fate, and I'm gonna say that I'm gonna explain why. Like I said, a lot of people would say Franklin. Okay, no arguments for me. Some people would say Teddy. No arguments for me because he did end up dead. The reason why I say Louis over Franklin is because one simple reason: the CIA is no longer after Franklin, but the CIA is after Louis. At the end of the series, you can see Louis still on the run. She's at some barn, literally hiding from DEA, CIA, whatever. So Louis still has the government after her. They're not going to stop looking for her until they find her. And when they do find her, she will 9 times out of 10 be getting the queen pin penalty, which carries a death sentence. Again, I don't know exactly how the laws were out there at that time in Los Angeles, and we're talking the late at this point in the series. I think the late 1990s, if I want to say that, because the show started in the late 1980s, if I'm not mistaken, and it took yeah. So let's just say like the late 1990s, whatever, maybe mid. Any case, Louis is gonna be on the run until she gets caught. There is no escaping this shit. She made her bed. She made her bed, and she had no choice but to lay in the shit. And that's what it is, literal shit. I don't think Franklin had the worst fate because even though he lost everything, he also said it himself that he no longer has the chains on him from the CIA. Like he ain't got them looking over his shoulder. He doesn't have them in his pocket. He don't have them. He doesn't have. They don't have him on a leash anymore, basically. Whereas you can't say the same for Louis. Franklin can go on living his life. He can get back on his feet if he kicks his alcohol, addiction. He can get back on his feet. Louis, on the other hand, she has no other fate except probably death. Which I mean, obviously we all have that fate, but at the end of the day, at this particular instance in this TV show, Louis had the worst fate, in my opinion. Again, she's running from the CEA. She's running from the fucking government. She's going to get caught. She's going to be tried. 9 times out of 10, I would think she gets the queen pin penalty. She's at least going to be locked up for life. Even if she doesn't get the queen pin, you got all the murders that she committed, all the dirty money that she laundered. Shit, she didn't even get killed. She didn't even get tried for Claudia's murder. Well, can you consider that a murder? I wouldn't consider that a murder. Maybe not. It depends on how you look at it, but that's my point on that. Now, on the flip side, I think the character had the best fate, all things considered, was obviously Leon. Because, fuck, he's the only one that actually made it out of the shit with his head intact, with no strings attached. Him and Wanda are married. They live in Africa. They're surrounded by nothing but, their culture. They're not dealing with drugs or anything like that. There's no killings going on. Well, at least it's insinuated that there's no killings going on out there, not to the level of where they're at in Los Angeles, though. So I think that they made it. They got the spinoff show about them coming up too. They made it, and that's good for them. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is who I think committed the biggest betrayal in Snowfall. I asked my wife this as well. When she first started getting into Snowfall, she thought it was Kevin. Well, she said it was Kevin, which it wouldn't be. It's not a wrong answer, especially if you're only through like season one. Maybe like if you're still early on into the series, then yeah, he was a bitch. He really was. The motherfucker, he was jealous. I think he was jealous of Leon and Franklin. I think he was jealous of the power that they were getting. I think he was jealous of the friendship they had. I think that Kevin wanted to be in Franklin's position, which is why he sold out the recipe to those Mexicans. I personally think that Kevin had a lot of jealousy. I really do. Like I said, he was jealous of the friendship, the power. I think he was just jealous of Franklin and Leon as people, just in general. And it's fucked up to say that because Franklin got them both their own houses to fucking live in. The man bought you a house, and to repay him, you go ahead and sell the fucking, or not sell, but you go ahead and give the recipe to the fucking Mexicans that obviously they weren't on the same page at the time. So you basically gave the one means you have of income, you basically gave that up to your fucking opponents, to your ops, to people who aren't on your side. So yeah, Kevin was a fucking bitch. Now, fast forward to give my answer on who I think committed the biggest betrayal. A lot of people say Sissy because of what she did to Teddy. A lot of people say Teddy because he stole the money. You're not wrong. You're not, trust me, you're nowhere near wrong. There is no right or wrong answer in these situations because everybody has skeletons in their closet. Everybody betrays Franklin at some point in time. But I think, going back to her again, I think Louis committed the biggest betrayal. And the reason why I say that is because let's look at it this way. You can say Teddy committed the biggest betrayal by stealing Franklin's money, but think about this. Had Franklin not left the game, Teddy probably wouldn't have stole his money. Now let's go even further back. Had Louis not went behind Franklin's back and dealt directly with Teddy, Franklin would not have ever left the game. Therefore, his money would still be intact. His mind would still probably be intact, and he would still have his family. Now, that's not to say the shit wouldn't go differently in any other case. I'm not here to go down that rabbit hole, at least not yet. But just a brief synopsis, like I said, Louis basically committed the cardinal sin. You don't bite off the hand that feeds you. And that's exactly what the fuck she did. She bit off the hand that fed them. Franklin was the sole reason why they made so much money in the first place. He is the reason why they were able to upgrade their living conditions, upgrade their apparel, and the materials that they had. Without Franklin bringing that key of cocaine in that house, they would have been still selling weed. Now, granted, don't get me wrong, Jerome may have still been alive. I will say that. There may not have been nowhere near as many deaths that happened. However, like I said, her going behind his back is the whole reason why. That's what kickstarted Franklin losing his mind like that. Again, Louis went behind his back, dealt directly with Teddy, which led to the domino effect of Franklin stepping out the game, letting Louis have center stage, which was the fucking smartest thing he could have. That was the smartest thing he could have did. I will give Franklin that. Of all the things he did in that series, that was probably the smartest thing he did. He gave Louis the keys to that fucking operation at the perfect time. But in any case, yeah, that Louis turning on Franklin and siding with Teddy, that was the domino effect that kicked off every fucking thing negative that happened to Franklin towards the end of that series. So, like I said, I think Louis committed the biggest betrayal, and plus also Louis didn't even she didn't even betray just Franklin. She betrayed Jerome with that whole situation with I think the Kane, I think his name was the OG, the one that killed Jerome. Jerome wanted out. He said it himself. I'm going to Africa. I want out of this shit. Louis being Louis, she somehow convinced him to stay, and then that whole thing happened with her getting kidnapped and all that shit. Led to Jerome and him coming in, getting killed. Even though he killed the other guy, I really think his name was Kane, but we used to call him OG. He killed OG, and OG killed him. So tough break, Louis. You got your husband killed, you lost your family, and your ass is on the run. So if that's not the worst fate in the fucking TV show, I don't know what the hell is. But she made her own bed. She wanted to be this high and mighty bitch. She didn't want to take orders from nobody. She didn't want to be under nobody's thumb. And I get it, because when you look at the backstory, she was under Claudia's thumb. And then she broke out of that. And she was kind of under Jerome's thumb in a way until she decided to leave him towards the beginning of the series, decided to leave him, stay with Claudia, and then come back. Of course, they made up. Jerome stopped, treating her like trash. But all in all, he still ended up losing his life for his wife because of his wife. That's tough. That is tough. Jerome was a real nigga too. So my last question: do I think Snowfall is better than Power? Or which is better, Snowfall or Power? Personally, I think Snowfall is a better series. I've seen Power. Obviously, it's a good show. I mean, I think that Power kind of compared to Snowfall, Power is, like I said, more of the entertainment side, whereas Snowfall, there's a lot more realism in the show, in my opinion. It actually shows the effects of what drugs can do to your community. It shows the backlash. It shows people actually going through the shit, like Mel, Wanda, Peaches. It actually showed the effects of what being addicted to drugs can do to you. Whereas in Power, they don't really have that going on, like talking about it. At least not that I remember. I haven't seen Force and I haven't seen Raising Kanan, so if they have it in there, cool. I'm only talking about OG Power. Nah, I haven't seen it in a minute. I could be wrong, but from what I remember, it doesn't really show the damages like Snowfall does. And yeah, I mean, Power is also a drug TV. It's a drug TV show. Tommy and Ghost and all of them, they were drug peddlers, but it showed it from more of a admission, not admission, but administrative point, if that makes sense. It shows the fallout between the people that actually are at the top, and it does introduce people that the corner boys like Two Bit, Spanky, and the big guy. But to the effect that Snowfall does it, I don't think it really comes close to it. I could be wrong. We can agree to disagree. I'm always up for a discussion. But yeah, I think Snowfall is better than Power personally. Again, like I said, I think it's more realistic. I think it's way more grounded. And I love the character development. Absolutely love the fucking character development between Franklin going from just a normal kid to top of the fucking world to literally the rock bottom. That's amazing. From Leon going to Frank, just a regular kid, Franklin's friend, to Franklin's sidekick, to his own boss, to now a black activist that wants nothing to do with the game. And then not only from the black activist, he goes from that to, the legal counsel. And I'm like, okay, this actually shows that people they don't want to just be stuck in one place. Whereas I feel like in Power, there wasn't really much of that going on. Leon actually cared about his people. He actually wanted to see his people do better. He wanted his own crew. He wanted his own crew to leave the game and just join him and just, they was gonna figure it out. But of course, they wasn't trying to hear that shit. Which of course you always have somebody like that. There's always gonna be somebody like that don't want to hear what you gotta say. But all in all, I think Leon's character development was probably some of the best shit I've ever seen. Honestly, I would debate if it's better than Franklin's character development. Not to say that Franklin's CD is bad by any means, but I think Leon's is like really, really up there, especially considering that he came out of the show probably in the best shape compared to everybody else. Main characters, that is. And then we got Wanda, of course, who fell in this deep ass addiction vortex, no hope, left Leon for fucking Man Boys, whoever that dude is that was with Man Boy, but was able to get clean. She got admitted to ER. She got clean and she made a turnaround. She turned her life completely around. She got a job with Franklin working in the real estate. Then eventually Sissy let her run the homeless shelter after Alton got killed. Well, Alton got killed, then Sissy took it over. No, Alton got killed. It was shut down for a minute. Then Sissy reopened it and then gave it to Wanda. Well, now I think they live in Africa. I know Leon mentioned about her getting into music too. So there's a lot of positives in Leon and Wanda's story, and so I'm hoping that this spinoff isn't. Well, I mean, I hope it still has a Snowfall feel, but more so a little more positive. I think because I think that given the circumstances, I don't see how Leon and Wanda could be back into that kind of stuff. But hey, we'll see. They know what the directors and the producers, the script writers, they know what they're doing. So that's my three questions. But I think I'm gonna answer one more. There's a lot of talk going around saying that Sissy was really the main villain in the show, or she may have committed the biggest betrayal. I've seen people say that. I've seen people say that Sissy was, she wasn't shit for shooting Teddy when she did. I think that the timing was bad. Or people think that the timing was worse. Couldn't have been worse. Or, the case, whatever the case may be. I'm going to give a different viewpoint on that. I personally think that Sissy may actually be somewhat of a hero of the series. And I know a lot of my takes aren't really popular, but just y'all people don't be thinking about shit like that. So let me explain why I say that, and then that's gonna be it for the day. Let's paint the picture again. Let's go back to that scene where Franklin, Teddy, and Sissy are at the payphone, and Teddy's assistant. They're all at the payphone on the phone with Teddy's bank. He's one word away from transferring that 37 million over back to Franklin. But before he can give that password, Sissy shoots him. Now, why did Sissy shoot him? Why did Sissy piss away the only opportunity that Franklin had to get his money back? Let's look at it like this. Let's fast forward towards the end first, and then let's go back in the middle. Franklin says those two words at the end with Leon, I'm free. Not, that's it. He just says, I'm free. Now, why does he say he's free? When Sissy shoots Teddy, she gets, she's not trying to run. She's not trying to do anything. She shoots him in broad daylight, kills him. Everybody witnesses it. Police are right there. She gives up. You know what I'm saying? She surrenders. She's not trying to fight. She's not trying to resist. None of that shit. The reason why Sissy did what she did is because, and she says it herself, do you think that Teddy's really going to leave you alone after sending his money? Franklin had a really bad habit of giving people too many chances, and that really cost him big time. That's the reason why everybody like Leon, well, not really Leon, but that driver that he had, Peaches, Louie, Jerome, Teddy. That's why people even, can you say Veronique? Because Well, we'll get to that. That's the reason why Franklin got betrayed so many times because he had this bad habit of thinking that people could change and giving people too many chances. Now I know a lot of us have that habit. I have that habit too. But the reason why Sissy did what she did is because first of all, she didn't trust that Teddy was really going to leave him alone. Franklin being Franklin, him knowing what we know, or him knowing what he knows that we know that he knows, Teddy knows what he knows. Him having so much knowledge about what goes on, Teddy would not just leave him alone like that. He would probably have him under 24/7 surveillance. He would never truly be free. Yeah, he would be rich, but he would never truly be free. He wouldn't be able to live his life like that. So I think the reason why Sissy did what she did is because she saw exactly what the money was doing to Franklin. And she wanted her son to be free of all of the shit. She understood that it was too late to really save him. And she said it himself. She said it herself, Franklin is lost. She knew it was already too late to really save him like she wanted to. She didn't want him in the game in the first place. But when she realized that there was really nothing she could do about it, I think she would at least be closer. She would prefer to be closer to Franklin than just watch from the sidelines and just not do anything about it. Because that's still her son at the end of the day. And yes, Franklin was kind of a mama's boy at the beginning of the series. I will say that. But yeah, like I said, I think that her shooting Teddy, while it made no sense financially, psychologically, that was probably the best time to do it because now that Teddy's dead, Franklin no longer has, like he said himself, he no longer has the shackles of the government over him or under him, whatever, around him. He no longer has the CIA watching his every move like they were doing. He no longer has the CIA watching his people. No, Teddy's dead. That's it. Now I know that I don't think the CIA. I know he wasn't with the CIA at the time. I know he was trying to get back with them, but I don't think he was officially back with them at that time. So they couldn't really do nothing about it. They tried to keep an eye on Franklin, but eventually he told them, leave me the fuck alone. That's it. He ain't got nothing left for them. He literally had nothing left for them. Once that money was gone and he took that first shot, that was the beginning of the end. Because remember, before that moment, Franklin had never drunk, he never drank, and he never smoked. He was always clean, always level headed. But the moment all was lost, he drowned his sorrows in a shot. And then that eventually turned into an alcohol obsession or addiction. And that's part of why he just lost everything. But yeah, man, that was a good show. I definitely recommend you guys giving it a watch. I know I'm 10 years late. Like I said, the show came out in 2017. I just finished watching it maybe a few weeks ago. It was a very good watch. Very, very good watch. I recommend anybody if you got some downtime, if you're looking for something like if you're looking for a great TV show, honestly, I definitely recommend giving this a watch. But guys, that's going to be it for now. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the video. I got content all over my page. I got a lot of shit going on in 2026 that I have plans for. Turn those post notifications on so you don't miss anything. And if you guys have any ideas of something you want to talk about or you want me to talk about, touch on, leave that in the comments as well. And I'll do my best to get to it as soon as possible. But in any case, that's my quick review on Snowfall. And I'll be back later with specific character analysis.